Hey, it's time for another expert website review. I'm Scott Fox. It's time to take a look at dressupgames.com. What a beautiful site this is and a lot of fun for girls who are interested in dress-up games. A great domain name yields very high search engine ranking and lots of traffic. This site is blessed with an Alexa ranking of 6,405 today. That means that its owner, Inga, is doing very well online. Congratulations, Inga. But even professionals could use a coach or a mentor. So Inga wrote in to expertwebsitereviews.com and ordered this expert website review from me, Scott Fox. So today we're going to talk about dressupgames.com and see what we can do to help her make the site even better. So let's talk about this site and all the ways that I think we can improve it. Now, obviously, Inga, you've done a great job in building a very viable business here. You've been online for years, since 1998, which is about as long as anybody. Certainly for a surviving site. I was building websites before that, but none of those early ones survived. You are still here and still going. So first of all, congratulations to you. Nice work. You've identified a good niche and apparently have been making money from it ever since. 15 years online with the same website is quite an achievement. So when you wrote in to me at expertwebsitereviews.com, you had sort of general questions. You said mostly you're concerned with usability, for example, the navigation. So we'll talk through that. We'll talk about the Ajax-driven boxes that are here, these tabs, and things like that that are offering different parts of your site to visitors. We'll want to talk about the Facebook comments that you asked me about and some of your ideas about strategies for the future, like modifying your landing page and some keyword optimization, and maybe just a little bit about AdSense and how to make more money too, because that is my specialty and leading interest. That's why most people visit me, although it sounds like you're doing pretty well already, so congratulations. So my thoughts for you are, well, let's start at the top. Usability, that was your primary question. You said, for example, do I have too many categories, and is the navigation system easy to use, meaning the bar across the top? So that would be up here, and I think it is easy to use. It looks pretty good to me. You have a lot of categories. That's not uncommon for sites in this space, and I think you're probably going to have a tough time doing much better. There are lots of ways to tweak this. I looked at some of your competitors, as you suggested, and basically they've got a lot of categories too. So unless you were going to break this into separate websites focused on specific character types, it would be hard to get rid of all this navigation. So I don't have some flash of insight for you there. I think you're on pretty much the right track. Now, there is a thought business-wise in terms of perhaps splitting this into separate sites. In terms of search engine optimization, that might be interesting. If you carved out, for example, a fashion site with all these subcategories versus a celebrity site, or a makeover site, some of these do start to get into niche categories, like the seasonal ones, Halloween especially, versus Christmas. Those could be interesting spin-off ideas for you. But at the same time, it looks like you're doing pretty well in terms of your existing traffic. So I don't know if you're looking for more work like that, but it is an idea to consider. So back to your navigation. Let's see. Now, like I said, I think you've got a lot of categories here. It sure would be nice to simplify this, but it's hard to crush all this into one thing. So I think you're probably doing okay there. You might consider aesthetically a little dress up, no pun intended, of your logo and a little modernization. This is a cute pixelated logo. I get it, but I've been online a long time. I don't know if something more modern might be more appealing to your crowd, especially if you're targeting tweens, tween girls mostly, as you emailed me about. Let's see, you said girls, ages approximately 9 to 13. That pixelated version isn't going to look cool to them as much as old. That's my guess anyway. Again, I'm the opposite of your target audience, so I'm not sure about that, but this could probably use an update. Most particular, what got me thinking about that was this really tiny font you've got here, established 1990. I couldn't even read that, really. I couldn't figure out what year you were actually established until I scrolled down here to the bottom, and I saw that you had that explained here. And I think that, at least to me, that's impressive. But again, I'm an old guy compared to your audience, and that's impressive. So I don't know whether it's important at all, but perhaps it might provide credibility to parents who are looking over the shoulders of their tween girls. One thing I would like to see is just a little more of this text up here. Just strategically, there's a question for you in terms of, are you optimizing for new arrivals or are you optimizing for repeat visitors? And that's a question, right? And both are valid. If you're optimizing for repeat visitors, what I'm going to say doesn't matter so much. But if you're optimizing for people who have just discovered you, especially people who are new to the dress-up games genre of games, I think a little explanation up here of what the site is about and how to use it would be really helpful. At least for somebody like me, again, maybe a parent who's looking over the shoulders of their girls and trying to make sure that the site is legitimate and safe and appropriate for them to interact on. So you've got this these keywords, this copy down here, and some of it has keywords. Just one or two sentences, something like this, maybe a little more salesy. It founded in 1998. I don't mean to make too big a deal of that. I think it's impressive, but it's not really a selling point. I'm thinking more like, because this is kind of an about us, which is fine, but I'm thinking more like a tagline, an extended tagline, or a value proposition. Maybe right here or somewhere up here. Dress Up Games, where a leading, friendly and safe, kid-appropriate site to help girls dress up their favorite characters in the latest fashions, or something like that. You get the idea. Just some kind of a one-liner, so that if somebody's new, not just to the site but to the whole concept, they'll land and go, "What are all these little pictures? Oh, I get it. Okay." And then they'll be able to make their decision and hopefully get involved. Of course, you'd want to end that little intro section with perhaps a call to action, like "Get started here." And that's one of the things I see missing here, is actually a how to get started. You've been at this so long, it may not be obvious to you, but to me, again, I'm not your demo, but if I arrived here, I wasn't sure what to do. Nowhere does it say, "Click on me and get started," or "Click here to do this." I mean, to be fair, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly once you click on one of these things and it loads, and then there's this button Start. I was surprised, by the way, how small the Start or the, I looked at a number of these and they all say Start or Play Now or Go or something like that. They tend to be these small buttons. If you're designing your own games, which I gather you do, why not make this big? I want to make this real clear. Start! Here's where you go. Let's do this. And especially, again, for newbies, that would be helpful. And just, I don't know, a tutorial might be too much, but let's put some clothes on that lady. Just some basics of how to get started might be helpful. Again, maybe that's overkill. Maybe you're really targeting repeat visitors anyway, or it's self-explanatory enough. I don't know. It's kind of up to you, but that was a thought that occurred to me as someone who is not immersed in this genre like you are. And the other point is having a little bit of text up here, and again, I'm saying text, not image. Having some text up here would be helpful for search engine optimization. You have a lot of code on this page that perhaps can block the search engine crawlers on occasion. And if you had a sentence or two up here in plain text that had your keywords reiterated, I think it might help your search engine optimization improve even more. Okay, now let's get on to some of your further questions. You had a question about the Ajax-driven boxes. There's a lot of different sections on your site that are kind of hidden, and there's a real debate online as to whether that helps or hurts. Well, it certainly doesn't help SEO, but it may impede the crawlers, like I just mentioned, and it could hurt your SEO. Your question is a good one. You obviously know some about SEO. The debate on this is quite unsettled. Only Google really knows what it's doing, and I would think that if you look around online, you'll see the same answer I'm going to give you, which is already, which is nobody's really sure if Ajax really hurts. Of course, Google is smart enough to try to be optimizing to get through the Ajax because they want to read what's inside the sites, right? That's their job. So I think it's probably okay. The best answer I can give you is to do something like this. I noticed that you have good search engine optimization. For example, you own the great domain name for this category, Dress Up Games. Well, you've got it, dressupgames.com. Nice move. Key to getting started back in the 90s, right? Well done. And you've hung on to it, which is even better. And this is the sort of result you get when you type that in. Not surprisingly, you're first. Well, of course, you're behind these folks who are paying to appear there, but you've got the first organic ranking, and that's a great start, and well done. You don't want to mess with your site too much and screw that up. But the next step you can take is actually to look in Google's cache, and you can see what they're seeing if you do something like this. Type in, to look at the cache that Google has, you can type in a command like this, cache, and then your Dress Up Games, your URL, and see what they have in the cache. In this, they've got a cached version of this. This is actually from earlier. This is from yesterday, I guess. So pretty fresh. And you know what this looks like, so that's not telling you much. But up here, just outside of the view of the camera, is the text-only version link. Now this is what the crawler actually sees. So this can give you some real insights into what the Google is seeing and ranking your site on. And you can see right here you've got Dress Up Games logo right away. That's good. You're not using the word too much in your top navigations, so you might put it some more in there. And most importantly, I don't see the insides of your Ajax boxes appearing. If you're clicking inside these different tabs, for example, this stuff, it does not show up in this cached text version. Where'd it go? There it is. The text, see, these are the buttons here, and it just has numbers. Now they're linked, so Google theoretically can crawl inside those. And again, you'd have to check the text version of that to see it. So presumably it is reaching these. It's finding them nicely enough and can go inside them. But it's seeing them as sub-pages, I think, not as your front page. And that may make a difference. Oh, sorry, you're having trouble seeing what I'm seeing, aren't you? There. Okay. There. See the numbers? That's what I'm referring to here. This is what Google sees in the cache, not the full content of each of those tabs. So that suggests it is harder to reach, although it is reachable. Okay, all you have to do is click on this and the crawler will go in there and see the text on each of those pages. So I think you're probably okay. I can't give you a much better answer than that. I actually researched it for you online, and there's a great debate and disagreement, but most people seem to come down on the side that the Ajax boxes are responsive enough. People think that Google is smart enough to have figured this out. A lot of people use it. It's an important part of modern web development. If Google wasn't able to read that stuff, it would be more widely known, because it would be hurting their results. Okay, so that's about the best answer I can give you on that. I think you're okay. Okay. All right. Now let's move on. You also want to talk about Facebook comments. You had Facebook comments. Let's go grab one of these inside, and there are Facebook comments implemented on some of your interior pages, like these. And you're concerned that they were a little juvenile, and this is a good example of that. Not a lot of actual discussion. Sounds like one of your ads is talking to me here. Yes, okay. Don't really want to do that, but I'll try to talk over that. Your Facebook comments are, just like you said, a little juvenile. Nice game, beautiful, cool, you know, that sort of thing. So not adding a lot. What do I think of that? Well, I think you're headed in the right direction. I think comments could demonstrate some community here. I think that's a good initiative. Is Facebook the way to do it? I just don't trust Facebook these days, honestly, so it's kind of up to you. You're also not getting high quality comments. You might consider implementing more traditional blog comments or a blog commenting system like Disqus or Wildfire or Livefire, one of those guys, you know, that kind of, even the WordPress type systems. If you want people to actually give more comments, though, you've got to give them more reason. And I think in that case, you need more than just add a comment. You need to actually put some dialogue in here and say, you know, what do you think of this? What's your favorite part of it? What don't you like? How can we improve this? Like some specific questions for people to respond to. I think that's the main reason you're getting kind of simple comments here, is that there's no framework for the discussion. Facebook is young, it skews young, you'll continue to get that, of course, but if you want quality discussion, I think you need to ask quality questions. That might be a helpful tip for you. In any case, I would also point out that if you're targeting tweens, you've got COPPA issues, which is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and you don't want to allow too much interactivity here, because then you could get into problems with children disclosing their identities and interacting in ways that are not safe or permitted online according to the COPPA Act. So that's a double-edged sword, as it were. Okay, but hopefully those are some additional initiatives for you to think about. You know, in fact, I should recommend, before I forget, you might want to come and join our Masterminds forum at Click Millionaires. I run a Masterminds forum. There's a free forum at clickmillionaires.com, but the Masterminds forum is the one I moderate myself, where we have existing business owners like yourself and people who are building businesses, the serious folks who are, you know, paying the monthly membership fee. It's $39, not expensive if you're running a real business, and I work and moderate this forum myself personally, and we can talk through these issues. I've actually run some children's sites in the past, and have a little familiarity with those issues, and we have other folks, and as you say, it's always good to just get a third pair or even a second pair of eyes on a website, and the Masterminds forum could be a really good idea for you as an online business owner. Plus, it's a lot of fun, and we help each other, and we get more done by helping each other out. All right, moving on. Let's talk about your new landing page approach. Well, you're thinking about modifying the site to have more of a landing page approach. You said maybe only feature the newest games, and you'd love my input on that. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. This goes back to my earlier suggestion about this page is really kind of optimized for the behavior of someone who's returning and already knows what they're doing. I think you could benefit from a landing page, or at least a section of landing page. I don't know if you need to redo the whole site, although it's worth testing. But you could maybe take out maybe one or two of these lines and make a big box right here that's a little more welcoming. Here's what we're about. Here's what you can do. Get started by clicking on this, or maybe more than one choice. Here are our 3 most popular games, or something. It was like you've kind of got that with the latest over here, but latest isn't really a call to action. That's more from your point of view. If I'm new here, they're all new to me. The latest doesn't make a difference. That's more targeting repeat visitors, right? So there's value to that, but it's just a different use case. If you're looking at new arrivals, then a landing page approach I think makes a lot of sense to say welcome. Come on in, here's what we've got, here's why it's safe for kids, here's what you should do. And I think that's a good idea for you. I'd also consider building an email list. You've got obviously tremendous traffic, and I don't know how much you want to communicate with children, but it's worth thinking about. With this kind of traffic, you could be building an asset in addition to your Dress Up Games site traffic of an email list. And an email list you can use to market other things, even if they're third-party ads or affiliate products. There's money there potentially for you. And email list is something I always recommend, especially when you have this kind of traffic. It would be a no-brainer for you to pay $20 a month to an email services company and have them just collect email addresses for you and build up an asset in the background over time. That's another great topic to talk about in the Masterminds forum if you're interested in joining us. Let's see, what else? More ads. Well, okay, you said you weren't real worried about ads, and that's fine. I guess you're making enough money. But a couple things. I would put this banner below reverse the search box. I'm not sure why you need a search box. You don't have any prompts there. It's kind of naked. What am I searching for? You might want to put in, in that kind of shadowed text some instructions. Search here for new games or celebrities, or maybe some prompt that explains why you have a search box there, because it almost looks like a mistake. I mean, I know what a search box is, but if I was 9 years old and this is my first time on the site, this is rather mysterious to me. But regardless, if you want to keep it and just keep it as it is, I would put it above the banner ad, because the banner ad can sit down closer to these links, and then it would get more clicks and more exposure. I'm also not sure why you're using a small 468 banner when you could probably fit a 728 by 90 banner in here and easily make a lot more money, because you'd have a lot bigger ad and it would get clicked on a lot more. That could quickly increase your revenues, I would think. And then you've only got 2 on this page. AdSense allows 3, so gosh, why not toss another one in at the bottom? I mean, it's not going to hurt anybody. 99% of the people are going to ignore it, but if you had another leaderboard sort of ad here in the footer, 1% of your traffic clicking on that every now and then could add up to some extra money in your pocket, especially over time. So why not, right? Nobody's going to leave the site because you have a 3rd ad on there way at the bottom. I also thought, this column could use something a little sexier, a little more interesting. Is there some offer you can make, or maybe there's an affiliate ad that you could on-sell? There's something, I don't know, with American Girl dolls, some books, or I'm sure on Amazon or something. There's probably something you could add in here that wouldn't even break your layout. This is very plain text and simple, and I'm not sure what it's doing for you, and it could probably be monetized or at least merchandised a little bit better. Then the thing I wanted to talk about the most, we're going to run out of time here, but 2 things. One, you said you were thinking about more emphasis on your own games, and I think that's a great idea. You've got a lot of competition in this space, which you're already doing well at winning anyway, but if that's what's different, I think you could emphasize your own more. The latest isn't so much interesting as how about exclusives? It seems like sites in this space all share different games with each other, and that's fine. But another way to do this sort of business is to be a niche boutique. Instead of being Walmart or Target and offering everything to everybody, you might niche down either on categories like we talked about in these different, like just an emo and gothic and punk character site alone. I mean, that sounds like a business to me. That's a really interesting niche that some girls might really be interested in. But anyway, my point was more about your own designs. If you have your own designs, I don't know that here. And perhaps those make you more money somehow, I'm not sure. But one way or the other, if you want to brand yourself and differentiate yourself from the competition, a section on your own games I think would be warranted, and merchandise that a bit more. Last, the thing that I thought was most interesting in your email, in your submission when you ordered this from expertwebsitereviews.com, was this line about your goals for site visitors include quality games chosen by an expert. You're not playing that up much at all. I don't see any mention of that here above the fold. There's a little bit of copy down here, but if you want to do that and say you're expert curated, you got to say it where we can see it, and it's worth saying. It's an interesting differentiation point. But the one that I liked even better, that I think is a big deal, is this point here. Games that showcase girls and women in a positive way, not about beauty, but about creativity. That is money. And that's a big compliment coming from me. That's wonderful. What a great spirit you're sharing there. Games that showcase creativity rather than beauty. With all the push in our society to stop, with the anorexic fashion models and all this stuff and different images of beauty, if you want to focus on creativity, I think that's a big win for you. I would put that up in your new slogan or site description that I'm mentioning. I would showcase that here in terms of which games you're picking to showcase and explain why. And I would make a big deal of this on your About section. Actually, you don't have an About section, really, do you? I guess you don't really have one. Maybe you need one, because I think that's a big deal, and that would really convince a lot of the moms and dads too who are concerned about their daughters. If they come in and say, "Oh, this site isn't just pushing the latest celebrity, look like Lindsay Lohan nonsense. It's saying, hey, you can be creative, and this is a better way for girls to learn how to think about themselves and their bodies, and here we can try it out." And I think you need all these girls that I've seen in your games really are stick figures, literally. So you might need to broaden that out a little bit, literally, to make the figures a little less skinny, perhaps. But I think there's something there for you in terms of differentiating yourself, and I really like that ethic. And again, I'm not the target demo, but I am the dad of a target demo, and that would be appealing to me or my wife or other people who are looking at this site and looking for dress-up games for their girls that are helpful to stimulating their brains, not just making them want to be skinny fashion models. So I hope that's helpful to you, Inga. It's a great site. There's a whole bunch of discussion in there and strategies that I hope are helpful to you. I'm glad you ordered this expert website review from expertwebsitereviews.com. I'm Scott Fox. If you've been watching this video later on YouTube or over at clickmillionaires.com, well, of course, you can join us at clickmillionaires.com. We'd be happy to talk to you in the free forum there. And if you'd like to upgrade to the Masterminds forum, we can pursue all these discussions in more depth, and I'd be happy to do that with you personally. And if you're watching this video later on my YouTube channel or at the expertwebsitereviews.com website, and you would like a video like this for your website, well, you know the URL by now. expertwebsitereviews.com is where I do these, and I'd be happy to do one for you too. Congratulations, Inga, on your success to date, and I hope this review is helpful to you in the future. Thanks.